Hi, good afternoon. It's really late. I'm sorry if my lighting's awful. I was supposed to film this earlier today and then I caught up prepping for the baby shower, which is next month. So today I want to talk about something that I'm sure there's videos about, but maybe for this specific situation in terms of the worldwide pandemic, I think it's important for new mothers to understand what they're going into, and that would be your doctor's appointments. Now, I've been pregnant since August, and I went to my first doctor's appointment at the beginning of September of 2020. And back then, we had just gone back into lockdowns where we had previously kind of opened up a little bit during the summer, or at least here in Southern California. I don't know what it's like in other places. So you have to wear a mask whenever you're in the office because of the pandemic. That's how everywhere is going right now, is you have to wear a mask everywhere. It's the same thing for your doctor's visits. So far, all of my doctor's appointments, besides my first one, and there's a special reason why, I'm only allowed to come. And that includes children under the ages of 5 are not allowed to come with mothers to their doctor's appointments. Neither can spouses nor any other family members. The only reason Martin was able to come to the first one is because at the time I was still in a wheelchair recovering from a pretty bad accident I was in. So he was considered my caregiver at that time because he had to push me in the wheelchair. So at least he was there for one of them. Since then, I've had one about like every month, I would say, with my midwife. I had to go back after my first one, which was at 6 weeks. I had to go back at 8 weeks because they wanted a better ultrasound. And then I had to go in again. I don't remember how many weeks I was, but it was like kind of middle of / end of October when I went again. And then I went again in the end of November after Thanksgiving. And then I had my anatomy scan, which was at a separate place. And then I had just gone again on the 22nd, December 22nd, with my midwife. And then now my next appointment isn't till the end of January, and I have to go get my glucose test done sometime before then. So I've had a decent amount of doctor's visits so far. Like I said, it's going to be different for every single woman how their doctor's appointments go, especially depending on your personality, who your doctor is, your type of pregnancy, your age. So for me, because I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't have any pre-existing conditions, and to be honest, I'm really not a worrier when it comes to pregnancy because I've studied human development for a really long time, so I kind of already know what to expect in a sense. But I know for other people, sometimes their doctor's appointments are pretty long. Mine usually last, honest to God, about maybe 15 minutes max. She usually just kind of comes in, and checks in to see how I'm doing, asks if I have any questions, which I usually don't. Sometimes I do. And then tells me to go my way. Do pretty standard things, like they take your weight each time, but unless it's a concern, my midwife's never brought it up. They just track my weight each time. And then she uses a Doppler and she listens for the heartbeat. If she can't find the heartbeat with the Doppler, which only happened once, then we'll go to the ultrasound room real quick and she'll do an ultrasound to listen to the heartbeat, but that's it. My midwife is pretty awesome. I wouldn't say pretty awesome. She is awesome. I really like my midwife. I recommend to everybody that they look into midwifery because in my opinion, I just think it's better than an OBGYN. So let's go into the different types of ultrasounds. So there are a few different types of ultrasounds. The worst one in my opinion is the transvaginal ultrasound, which is really uncomfortable. It's only done if you're very early on in pregnancy, as far as I'm aware, so I've only ever had it once, and it's extremely uncomfortable. So basically it's a little probe that they stick up into your vaginal canal and they move it around and try and find, you know, the heartbeat, or just trying to see if there is something there, essentially. The next type of ultrasound is your typical ultrasound that you normally see, which is the, I'm not sure what it's called, so if you guys know, correct me. But it's where they have like the normal like stick probe and they put a bunch of stuff on your belly and then they rub it around. Luckily, that stuff normally, like I hear people tell me it's really cold. Mine's always warm. They always heat it up for me, which is really nice. So it's never like really that uncomfortable. The only time it gets uncomfortable is if they press too hard, then that can kind of get uncomfortable. Especially like if baby's sitting low and you already feel like you have to pee all the time and then you're having someone go across your stomach pushing really hard, it just makes you feel like you have to really pee. But other than that, they're pretty easy. Those are the ones that I normally have, and that's also the kind that they use when they do your anatomy scan, which is the really important ultrasound. So this ultrasound is done usually about 20 weeks, and it's looking at everything that your baby is doing. So it's looking at your brain size, it's looking at your fetal size, it's looking at your heart, it's looking at kidneys, it's looking at eyes, all sorts of things. The lady I went to who did my anatomy scan, she was totally awesome. I actually had a blast. I was sad Martin couldn't be there because it is such an important ultrasound, but I was able to film it. I might include some footage if this video isn't too long.
There we go. Okay, so this is her head. All that stuff inside is the brain.
Mm-hmm. 2 hemispheres.
Yes, this is the dividing line.
The testing my psychology knowledge. Starts with a C. I'm blanking on what it's called.
So the thing that I'm measuring right now is the base of the brain.
Oh, it's where her cerebellum is.
Yes. Very good. Yeah.
Just graduated. I should know this stuff.
Cerebellum. Very good.
There's some funny clips in there of her and I talking about all the different brain structures, and she was really nice and was pointing them all out to me, what they were, and I would name the names, and it was still a really fun time even though I was alone. So some other important tests that you have to go through. Obviously, you usually have a urine test every single doctor's visit. They test for, like during my pap smear, they did a urine test to test for, you know, just any abnormalities, yeast infections, that kind of thing. The next test that I have coming up, but I haven't gone through yet, is the glucose test, which from what I understand is this test to kind of, it checks for gestational diabetes, and you drink this really, really sugary drink after you've been fasting for a few hours, and then once you drink it, you have to sit at the doctor's office for like an hour, and then they test your blood to see if your blood sugar is okay. I'm not looking forward to it. Once it happens, I'll let you know how it goes, but from what I've heard, the drink is really disgusting, and I have a feeling I'm probably gonna have a hard time drinking it. We'll see. If you failed the first glucose test, then you have to go back and do like a more extensive second one, which sucks. Some other, I guess, doctory things to know is that when you're prepping to go to the hospital, depending on when you're due, I'm currently due at the end of April, so it's becoming pretty clear that the pandemic isn't going anywhere anytime soon, even though we do have a vaccine. The cases are still rising and it's not looking like it's getting much better. So I'm and my midwife have already talked about it, and we're planning for more what's currently going on, which is when you go to the hospital, you need to call labor and delivery beforehand to let them know that you're coming. And then once you're in labor and delivery, they get you your own room. And while you're there, but you get one support person, and you both have to be wearing a mask. And I've heard it doesn't say on my hospital's website, and my midwife was kind of unsure because she actually doesn't deliver at my hospital. I have to have an on-call OBGYN deliver for me at the hospital. And she thought the same thing, where they do a COVID-19 screening rapid test, and the results should get in within at least 2 hours of getting the test. So that way, once you either test positive or negative, then it kind of determines how the rest of your laboring is going to go. If you test negative, from what I've heard, is you can take your mask off, at least the woman does, or your support person has to continue wearing a mask even if they test positive or negative. Also, while you're in the hospital, your support person is not allowed to leave. I'm saying that solely because I think it's really important, because typically people will leave and maybe like go get snacks or go shower or whatever. They cannot leave. So once I do my hospital bag tour, I'll show you guys. I already have a checklist going about the things I need to bring, and one of those is I'm bringing 3 days worth of clothes for Martin, just in case, because depending on my hospital, what time I deliver, and any COVID-19 procedures, we could stay there up to 3 days, and Martin is not allowed to leave at any time, because if he leaves, he can't come back in. So that is really, really important and something to consider. Some other things, I know my hospital is really cool about it. They are ranked very highly for having like natural birthing methods and breastfeeding and stuff like that. So they have tub rooms that you can labor in, and they also allow like intermittent checking, I guess. So basically I don't have to be hooked up to any like wires or anything the entire time. Just whenever the nurse needs to come in and check me, she sticks them in real quick, whether it's an IV or it's the big like belt monitor that goes over your belly to check for a baby's heartbeat. She just checks me real quick, and then she takes it all off, and I can either be moving around or be in a tub or whatever while I'm laboring. Some other important things to know when going to the doctor's visits is that I recommend not telling anybody when you are going to the hospital, just in case people do try and show up. The hospitals are extremely overrun right now with COVID-19 patients, and you really don't want anybody there unless they have to be. If you guys have any other questions about what it's like to be pregnant while in the pandemic, any other questions about doctor visits, please leave them down below, or you can always DM me on Instagram and I will try and answer them. Thanks. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.